It's back in its full fat glory. Good evening and welcome to the PinkUn Show, our dedicated Norwich City shenanigans that has managed to avoid a yellow card for about 5 years. I'm Michael Bailey. We are here in the Woolpack Public House in the centre of Norwich live, and over the next 30 minutes or so we will bring you all the key Canaries discussions from Saturday's Cardiff defeat, look ahead to the weekend's reunion with Alec Neil, and get through all the smouldering transfer speculation as the summer already threatens its sagas. And all this with our guests tonight, who are former EDP City columnist Richard Balls and Forces2Canaries supporters group chairman Neville Townsend. Gentlemen, you have your drinks, you're looking in fine fettle. How are we both, Richard?
Good, yeah, excellent, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having us on.
It's good. We had a nice little stir amongst the fans before you came on, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm very popular, it seems.
Fun half an hour, I'm sure. Neville, how are you?
Mike, I'm fine, and nice to have you back, mate.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm a little bit.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yes, I'm a little bit more sleepy than I was, and that was quite sleepy before I left. So
in the first place,
so we'll see how we get on. Right, we are live, as I said, on PinkUn.com and the PinkUn Facebook page. We want to hear from you too over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, be it on the players you want to keep, the ones you want to sign, but specifically let us know the one thing that is keeping you going for the rest of the season. Mine is savouring Wes Moolahan for now. We want to hear yours. So get in touch with those, as well as all your questions, comments and banter. Get them through to us down the pub. Simply post your words on the live Facebook feed and they will ping right through to my phone, all being well. Now, I've missed Wesley Moolahan, and I'm sure you have too. Gents, you missed Wesley Moolahan?
Yeah.
So much written over their faces.
How much I've missed Wesley Moolahan.
So she's back, and so are these. It's this week's Norwich City headlines. Richard, go ring. Beautiful. Latey breaky heart. Cardiff scrape crucial win to take them a step closer to the Premier League. Neil Warnock will love that. Alas, there's now just one more shot at a home win left for Norwich this season. It's a mad world after all. The national press decide Arsenal know who James Maddison is and add them to the list of his potential summer suitors. £25 million seems to be the fee being peddled. Make the most of him, people. Those likely lads. Not even 12 months ago, John Ruddy was contemplating what next. Now the number one big man and Ryan Bennett are effectively EFL champions and hoping for a successful Premier League return. And we say, good luck to them. Maybe more so them than Wolves. Wink. Battle stations, Anglia, with mixed big storm out. Ipswich are in the midst of their new manager hunt as both Town and City bid to finish top of a rather niche pile. City fans will watch with interest what happens at Portman Road. Well, some of them. And finally, it's nearly time. Alec awaits City as his Preston side bid for the playoffs. A City reunion may not bother the North End boss, but I'm sure one or two people would prefer the ex-Norwich boss didn't get a repeat of his Wembley trick this season at least. Last bell, Rich. There we go. I'm not going to lie, that felt good, gents. Felt good. I enjoyed it. Good job. Did well there. So we are in full nothing to play for mode. We have been for a few weeks. Probably most of the time I've been off. How are we coping with that?
It's a good point that you make about what's keeping us going. Probably that there's going to be an end to it, which is good, and we can regroup obviously and have a look, see what happens next season. Obviously it's going to be a very busy summer, but I think are we going to finish ahead of Ipswich? Sadly that is the only possible objective that there is for the remaining games. Really, we're just seeing out a very poor season.
Managerless Ipswich, though, Neville. Do people care? Am I building this up, or is this one thing to cling on to?
Dislike. I won't use the word hate, but as much as we disliked him, I thought he actually did a good job on what he had down on the road. And I think they're in for a big shock. Whoever they get, they won't get Gerrard and the Wally with the brolly. They're not going to get him. But whoever they get, I think they could actually go down next season. He's done a fantastic job. I'm not a Mick McCarthy fan on what resources he had, you know, and he never beat us in the time that he was there. So, hallelujah.
He must be the only Ipswich manager that's probably managed to never beat Norwich, I would have thought.
Yeah. I mean,
Roy Keane?
Keane, did Magilton beat us? I don't know.
Certainly the one that's been there that long.
I agree with Neville. I think McCarthy has done a great job, given you know the amount. I think he made a good point about, you know, when he was here about, oh well, you know, we've had a tenth of the amount of money that Norwich have had, and it's true. I mean, we spent 10 times what they did on agents' fees, I think 2 years ago, and I think he's been a great manager. This is great for Norwich fans. McCarthy leaving Ipswich, great. If they can do better than him, I'll be very surprised.
I just imagine the Cowleys or Paul Hurst coming in, a bit of a revamp, but we're not going to spend all evening talking about Ipswich, so we're going to cut it off there, nice and sharply. Let's instead talk about the Cardiff game, which of course much more enjoyable. Now, I actually enjoyed the game. Now, I don't know. Again, I've been off for 3 weeks. I'm all doughy-eyed. Maybe I'm just excited about these things, but I thought it was really competitive. It was end to end. Both sides were going for it, and you know what? Fair play to Cardiff, because they were under a bit of pressure. They lost a couple of games, and in the end, they did what they needed to win it, which all sides pushing for what they're pushing for would love to do.
But they did the rotational fouling of our players early on, and I know certain retired hacks don't agree with us, but the referee could have stamped down on that early on. And when was his first yellow card? 44 minutes into the game. Had he had done that, I think that would have been an even better game, because they were rotationally fouling us, you know, and some of them were yellow cards in my opinion. I know, like I said, others would disagree, but apart from that, yeah, I thought we put it to them, and we were the better team in my opinion, but they scored the goals. You know, we froze for that first one, didn't we? Everyone stood still, bang, they reacted quickly, and the second goal, that was a good goal, you know. So.
It was a rare mistake from Angus Gunn for the first goal, Richard. I mean, they had good moments with Norwich, but not good chances, is it? They're not really making goalkeepers.
I wasn't at the game because I was away for family commitments, so I was one of the only games this season I've not been to.
You teed this up on the scrimmage, didn't you, earlier in the season, that you were missing a game?
Yeah. I mean, I've had to, because of a new book project I'm working on, I've had to be away. But I mean, I heard we played excellently well. We had lots of good possession. We obviously kept it tight right up to the 86th minute or something like that. And I think that's encouraging.
I mean, were you at the Villa game?
Yes.
So that second half, what does that make you feel? Because I mean, I know you'll be willing, and you'll want to talk about a lot of the issues that have been around.
You know, I want to talk about all the positive things, and you know that, and everyone knows that. And we've had some. Just talking before we came on air, we've had some very good halves. We've had some very good 3/4 of games. We haven't had some very good 90 minutes, I don't think. And I think that's one of the reasons why, where we are, and it's been disappointing. The last few games have definitely been a lot better. We scored 3 against Reading, 3 against Villa. We held Cardiff, who were, let's face it, are a good side. But what does concern me is, are Cardiff on paper or on grass or on any other substance that much better than us? Are Millwall better than Norwich? Now, I would actually argue we're better than Millwall, but that means that there's something very badly wrong, because they have not lost for weeks practically now. They've put on this just phenomenal run. You look at the Millwall results and going back 15 games. Why is it that a side that I think we probably would all agree are not as good as us, and they're 6th, and they're in the playoffs, and we are just miles off? So I'm not the manager. I don't know, why that might be. But if we all agree that Millwall are not as good as Norwich, and we all agree that perhaps Cardiff may be a bit overrated and they just kick people off the park and all the rest of it, why are they second? And that's really the big conundrum, I think.
They did some brilliant business in January, Millwall. I remember clocking that and thinking, that's fantastic. Still surprised me how well they've kicked on. St John Cooper, guys, we were wrong. We did not play well. So that's apparently so. And, he's not the only one to think it. Mark Newstead likes he says certain retired hacks, and he's got a crying with laughter face.
Talking about, yes, me and Mark, yeah, good old Mark.
We'll let people judge that. Here we go. So yeah, St John Cooper. My views on Cardiff: we created nothing, were poor in the final third, couldn't stand the aggression, and then got sloppy to concede. Game full of opinions as always. Stuart Simmons, beer on the table. Result. I mean, you'll notice there's 2. I got here too late to have a drink, but we'll skip over that. I'd probably fall asleep anyway. So that's all good. And Joachim Broberg, great name, Joachim. Get rid of Oliveira, Husband, Watkins, and Closer. We will get stuck into the keeps and reveal and leaves, I'm sure. But you guys both braced to lose James Maddison in the summer. I think he's basically winning every award and named in every team we're expecting.
I'm for it. I'd like him to go to Tottenham if he has to go.
First I've heard he's stated where you'd like him to go.
Yeah, Tottenham go. I've got a soft spot for Tottenham, and I think they do play decent football. But probably he's not ready, so let's let them buy him and then loan us back. I know it's in dream world, but that would be my ideal scenario. But I don't think it's going to happen, and I think he'll just go and we'll get 22 to 23 million and bye-bye. But he's been, very good most of the season. He's tailed off a bit recently, but hey, you can't expect a player to play really well the whole season. It doesn't happen. They have to have 4 periods or at less than good periods. So
minimum you take for him?
22, 23.
Richard?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, I think Maddison has really, really impressed me, because when he was up in Scotland, you were kind of hearing that maybe he didn't quite fit. His face didn't quite fit at Coney, or obviously he went up there for a reason. He still had those skills, but Neil, for whatever reason, chose to send him up there. What I really like about him is the fact that he has actually just got stuck in. Wherever he's gone. He's not one of these prima donnas who, he's been up, he's been at Coventry, come here, he's been up in Scotland, he got sent up there, not easy. He was an absolute star up there, really stole the show. Anyone who watches Scottish football is raves about it, what he did up there. Then he came back here, and he's obviously, even after what he'd achieved in Scotland, he still had to prove himself here, because we'd seen very little of him, because we hadn't been allowed to. So I think, full credit to the lad. I think he's obviously got a great attitude, and he works incredibly hard for the team, and I think that's fans love that.
They do, and I love that he throws in a challenge. You can sometimes see him getting wound up, and he will deal with it generally in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. Yeah,
in a good way. A comment here as well from Lisa Jack. Last game of 1982 was at Sheffield Wednesday away. We lost, but still got promoted. Hot sunny day and lots of inflatables. Looking forward to recreating that atmosphere and dreaming again. Lisa, I think you might have to, create that atmosphere on your own as a good starting point, but go for it. Go for it, absolutely. Right, you can take in my video verdict plus the post-match reactions of Daniel Farker, Neil Warnock and Jamal Lewis over at PinkUn.com. In the meantime, here is some of what they all had to say after Saturday's game.
To be honest, I didn't watch the scene back. I got the feeling. So we were in Cardiff at lead 1-0 at halftime, and after 47 minutes we conceded a penalty against us for much less than this situation, because I got the feeling, there was a tackle, and not only hitting the ball but also Harry's leg. But it's like this, so I won't comment the scenes and I won't comment the performance of the referee. I accept this, and this is like it is.
Feels to me like you're a bit of a poster boy for this, one of our own.
Yeah.
There's a big academy push going on. We've all seen about the stuff at the bond.
Yeah.
How does that feel for you? Because you're being out there, you're playing, you're learning your trade. Basically out in front of 26,000 people every week, and there's that sort of tag on your shoulder.
Yeah. No, I'm super proud to represent Norwich. Basically, obviously, whenever they're trying one of their own, it makes me feel proud. Whenever they do something well and they cheer, it makes me feel proud. So I just love being a Norwich City player, and I just want to kick on with the club. I want to be part of it, and just be part of the club, and hopefully just push for bigger things to come in the future.
It's been difficult this week to pick them up, and we had a bit of a sluggish start, and they're a good side, Norwich. I watched them against demoralised. I thought they battered Villa 2 weeks ago, a week ago, whenever it was. And they've got some good players. So we had to hang in there. We knew that they'd have a lot of possession. But I thought we really defended well. Morrison today, I thought he was 12 out of 10 today. Colossus. With Bamba to start with, and then Manga. I still thought we had the best chances, even in the first half, when Norwich played probably the better stuff. I still thought with a little bit more clinical finishing, we could have took 2 or 3 opportunities. So at least it was nice to create them today, but not finish them off.
So, thank you to Nev for getting me a half. Much appreciated. Thank you to Paddy and the boys for putting together the alternative PinkUn show while I was off. Much appreciated. And obviously, you'll be able to hear from all of us over the summer. And no, I wasn't expecting to become a dad within hours of hosting Chris Gorham and Rob Butler on this show in this very pub, but I do hold them both personally responsible. Well done to Lily Kemp. The 88-year-old was named Fan of the Season at Carrow Road on Saturday, an award now wonderfully named in honour of City superfan Michelle Dack, who we lost earlier this season. I think that's an incredibly fitting thing that the club have done there. Well done to Lily. And Neville, it was a big day on Saturday for Forces2Canaries too, I'm sure. Armed Forces Day.
Armed Forces Day, yes. The club are very good and hold this every year. So we had the Dragoon Guards from Swanton Morley. This year I put together some veterans from all different, the Royal Naval Association, the Royal Marines Association, Combined Ex-Services. So there was about 10 or 12 of them, and there was Canaries serving and ex. And one of them was Ian Mitten, who didn't think he was going to be able to join us, but he did the presentation of the Fan of the Season award, so he came and joined us, which was good. It's good to see Ian there and the rest of the guys. So yeah, unfortunately Marlon didn't send anyone. That was a bit of a shame. I don't know what happened there, but it was still good to see. And I'd like to say the Cardiff fans and the Norwich fans, very good round of applause, warm applause as we went round, which was much appreciated by everyone.
Fantastic stuff. And I'm right in thinking you've got a position at the Canaries Trust at the moment as well?
I'm co-opted onto the Canary Trust board as a representative of Forces2Canaries, along with Di Cunningham from Proud Canaries and the boys from Bartley and Norwich. So we're all co-opted to the Canaries, and it just basically means when we have monthly meetings, we all know what everyone's doing and all have our input. So it's not, and it works well, you know.
It seems like it's the way the trust has kind of developed. Seems like it's creating a role where there is something for the fans and maybe a slightly more impartial way of interacting with the club. And Richard, how do you see that from the outside? Because we've been through some interesting times, incredibly successful times, also times where fans have found it really difficult to kind of knock down through the walls of the club as well.
Yeah, I mean, people have got very different opinions, quite polarised opinions about how the club, reacts to fans and how it interacts with them. I mean, I think in lots of ways we all feel. I think most people feel that it's a friendly club. That's how people outside of Norwich perceive us as a friendly club, and I think most Norwich fans see it as a friendly club. Delia's mantra is that we are a community club and that we do different. Yes, I think the club does a lot of great stuff, and I think what it clearly has regular meetings with lots of groups and so on. Probably a lot better than a lot of other clubs. I wouldn't doubt that for a moment. But it doesn't really behave like a community club from the top down. I mean, I can't remember ever seeing it even on the club's own website or in the match day programme, a message from the shareholders, the majority shareholders. I mean, it just never happens. We don't, how do we know what they think? How do we know what they are planning to do? How do we know what their opinions about anything? We don't, because they don't utilise. I mean, never mind their relationship with the local media. Put that to one side. Take their own channels. I mean, the reason you have a website, presumably, is you want to get your message out to your supporters. They are your audience, your supporters. All we get is, interviews in the Times, which is a national newspaper with a paywall. How many Norwich fans saw that or knew about that? And an interview in the Guardian last weekend
with Paul McInnes, who is a Norwich fan.
Is that a community club that only talks to the national media selectively and only does it at very odd times? I mean, they actually did the Times interview to mark their 20th anniversary as majority shareholders. Surely you would do that with...
Well, I would do a sit down with me would be the best way to do it, obviously. But
with Michael Bailey in the Woolpack, or with Radio Norfolk, or with Future Radio. It doesn't, we do all these. That is not behaving like a community club.
I mean, they would probably argue that they wouldn't do the Times interview if they went over it again, and I could pick a lot of holes in that interview.
It was a disaster, and I know a lot of people who've said to me that they did not renew the previous season because of that.
How important to you are what the majority shareholders feel, Neville? Because, I mean, we've got a lot of people running the club. I mean, we've got two really now as opposed to one chief executive. We've got Stuart Webber.
I find, and the Canaries Trust AGM, we had Stuart Webber there and Steve Stone, you know, the two driving forces behind the club, in my opinion, and they spoke very frankly, both of them. Steve Stone on safe standing, where the club stands. Now, this is completely different from when we had McNally here. You know, the club's really proactive. Stuart Webber was talking about how poor Colney was when he got there, in his opinion. You know, there was an attitude of what can Norwich City do for me from people who were at Colney, instead of what can I do for Norwich City. There was that type of attitude. This is what he said, so I'm not saying anything, you know. And they spoke very openly, and that was at the Canaries Trust AGM. We then had the supporters meeting before, I forget which game it was, but in the morning, and again Stuart was there, Delia's nephew Tom Smith, who had a big hand in the bond issue, which fantastic, you know. A lot of people, you know, slated it, but, you know, they're investing. They weren't giving their money to Norwich City. That was an investment, and I don't think some of the fans got confused there. So we've had a lot of discussions with them, and frank discussions and open discussions. So, you know, me personally, yeah, I get, you know, I think personally I get a lot as feedback from the club. I hear what Richard's saying. Maybe that's something to bring up with them.
Two points I'd pick up on there. One is that Neville is somebody who regularly meets, because of the Forces2Canaries. We've got 40,000 supporters. Of course, Neville meets them, and he in that role, and Pride Canaries and so on. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the support, the paying support of Norwich City. And the second point I bring up is that you didn't mention the two people that I actually was talking about, which was Delia Smith and Michael Williams-Jones. It was Steve Stone, Stuart Webber and Tom Smith. Now, that's not what I was talking about at all. That's a completely different issue. I wasn't talking about those people. I was talking about Delia Smith and Michael Williams-Jones, not those other people. And, you know, the reason why season ticket numbers are down, and it's the first time in years that season ticket renewals have been as poor as, and that's a fact. It's not me, you know, that is a fact. Now, there's always a reason for everything. For every action, you get a reaction, and there is a reason why some people, maybe they're crazy, and we can say, oh, we've got this lovely club, what's wrong with them? But none of us round this table can deny that people are walking away from. Some people are walking away from the club. Now, I, as a Norwich fan, can't help but be concerned about that. That does worry me. How could you be a Norwich fan and not be concerned that people are not renewing?
Let's get your views in on the Facebook feed, and we'll discuss them. We'll definitely come back to this as the night progresses. I just want to move on onto a couple of points in the meantime, if I may, gents. Player of the season voting. Who would be your top three this year? I'm guessing what you'll both say is one.
Madison, Hanley, and the goalkeeper, Mr. Gunn. That's for me.
Same for me.
Oh, job done. That was easy. There we go. That was straightforward enough. Let's see what else have we got in terms of your messages here. We'll go through some of these. Alan Monument, all down to putting the ball in the net. Straightforward. There we go. I think we summed that up nicely. Mark Newstead on Madison says it's an odd one. 25 million for a player that has never played in the Premier League. Never played a Premier League game. I feel we may end up accepting undisclosed, which of course isn't a real amount of money, but I'm sure we'll all be able to find out how much the real amount of money is anyway. Don't worry too much, Mark. Simon Meadows, Daniel Farke's obsession with possession, one up front, is something that he needs to revise if we will go forward. And James Kemp, one of the things I would say about Cardiff is they have been in the Championship for a fair few seasons, only now starting to make it work. Say similar things about Fulham and others. Take the point about Millwall, but they had promotion momentum from last year. Personally, I'm reserving judgment until next season, because a lot of the problems aren't Webber's or Farke's fault, and they need the opportunity to get it right. Great point here. This is probably the juxtaposition. Is the way Daniel Farke's trying to do it going to be successful in the Championship?
Well, I think he needs to change the system that he employs, and you know, the reason for that is blindingly obvious. I mean, it's not working. I mean, it isn't. We're 14th or 13th. It isn't working. I think if people talk about, oh, we need this striker, if only we did this, sometimes on Radio Norfolk after a game, if only Oliveira had played, if only we'd brought in someone at 60 minutes instead of 80, and so on. I think that the system is just wrong. We're playing, anyone could scout us a week before a game, a fortnight before a game, and they could go along and watch us, and they will know that whatever they see, that's how we will turn up on the day. We're too easy to nullify, because we don't have an element of surprise. And as well as we've played, for example, apparently played exceptionally well against Cardiff, really held them.
I wouldn't say exceptionally well, but we
played well, but we didn't score. And I hear what you say about the referee, and I heard from lots of other people, he was absolutely shocking. But the referee can't score a goal for us. He can give us the decisions that we deserve, but he can't score a goal for us. We've scored fewer goals than Sunderland, who are bottom.
And they didn't make the goalkeeper work against Cardiff. Admittedly, against a Cardiff side who are superb at the back as well, which does play into the part. I suppose the curious thing for me is that some games, and maybe it's because Anel Hernandez has been injured in recent weeks, they suddenly played a sort of a front three and they were getting it in behind. And I want to know if Daniel Farke has that desire to be more energetic and to have a side that is more dynamic, and whether he's playing this way to a degree because of his preconception of the players he's got and what he wants to do.
Is that it? Is that and I'm not banging the drum for Stuart Webber, but I think I tend to agree with him. We've got to go for at least one or two more transfer windows for Daniel Farke to get the players in that he wants in certain positions. But I agree with Richard that he's got to be able to mix it up. All good managers need to have a plan A, B, and C. Because, like you say, if you just play the same way week in, week out, clubs will just nullify you. They just send a scout the week before, And so we need to have a plan A, B, and C. But I do think we need to just, that word patience, everyone hates it. Hey, clang.
Especially 3 games to go in the season.
Yeah. I mean, Lambert, that was one of the great things about Lambert, was that he mixed it up. Ridiculously. I mean, if we were really getting beaten in the first half, or things were really not, he'd make substitutions at half time. I mean, I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but God, you couldn't accuse him of not reacting to situations. But Farke, my concern is that he has this system. That he believes this is the way we should play. We play one up front. Doesn't matter whether we're away, we're at home, we're in the cup. It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. He always plays the same way. Anyone can scout us.
I don't agree with that. Not in terms of formation, but
we never play 2 up front. I
don't agree with that either. I thought they did most of the time when they were playing 3 at the back. But it's how effective they are with the players.
The number of goals that we're scoring is such that it clearly isn't working. I mean, if you've scored fewer goals than the side that's bottom of the table, there's something not right.
But we are talking about a striker how did he score last season? Oliveira. We scored the most along with Newcastle last season, with Cameron and Oliveira, who were both playing with us up until Christmas. So
they were, but neither of them got above 20 goals last season, which actually surprised me when we checked back it, and it was all the goals chipped in from midfield. Yeah, all from midfield.
Yeah.
That's the big difference. Let's rattle on. Brilliant stuff, gents. Top work. Let's just get through some of your messages. Phil Wall, evening Nev and all. So I guess Phil knows Nev. As disappointing as this season has been, top bloke. Does the panel agree we have been very unlucky with injuries? Oliveira, Teti, Trebol, to name a few. Thank God we didn't lose Madison or Gunn for a long period, or we could have been Sunderland, which is quite dramatic, but tough on injuries.
We have been unlucky with injuries, we have definitely been unlucky with injuries this season. But then again, I'd need to look at other clubs that are in the top 6 and find out how many they've had.
Neil Austin, poor value for money currently being viewed at Carrow Road. 500 quid for a little entertainment, hence people walking away. I mean, I talk a lot about expectations, but the caveat I have to keep coming back to is it's the most expensive season ticket in the Championship, so there is going to be expectation from that. Daniel Wendon, he thinks Daniel Farke doesn't have the right players to play his style, and Alan Monument is not working because we don't have a striker, and Fulham employed the same system, and obviously they've been building that out for a fair amount of time. Daniel again, we could devastate teams if we just had that goal scorer. There you go, Richard. Right, let's move that on. As I keep your comments and questions coming, and we'll discuss them later on in the show, but now it's time to see if we can remember what to do with this. It's Flip the Bird. Neville's really excited about this. Last time out, which was a while ago, we had the Battle of the Beeb, and it was Chris Gorham who came out on top, beating Rob Butler 6-3 and claiming all the Derby honours. We'll have an update. No, we've got an updated leaderboard, haven't we, Dan? Are you showing that now? Brilliant. So there you are. Mr. Gorham sits safely in mid-table in the top half, and Rob mid-table in the bottom half. He took the defeat well, though, I think, which means it's now the turn of Richard Neville, who gets the chance to improve on his 4 from earlier in the season, although he was querying whether it was actually 4 last time out, and he did want to make sure that he definitely keeps his higher score depending on how he does tonight. Competitive man. Steve Cook still leads with 12, of course, meaning he currently is currently leading the race to win the grand prize of babysitting Wesley Moolahan during the summer. Lucky you, Steve. And now remember, guys, you've got 30 seconds to flip the largest pile as you can, building up from with one arm. The winner gets a much prized selfie with Wesley Moolahan, and forever be deemed more Robert Flick than Flicky Van Volswinkel. Are you ready? Thank you, Rich. Rich heard that for the first time. Dan's ready. You guys ready? 3, 2, 1. Dan says go. Away we go. It's a slow start, but Neville's claiming 2 there, although he's not really hurrying getting the pile. You've only got 30 seconds this time. Oh, Rich is in a smooth groove here. A man who spent a lot of time in pubs. This is relentless technique. I am loving it. You should watch Rich. This is how you do flip the bird. Neville's keeping pace just about, but Richard's just not dropping beer mats. Neville's feeling the pressure. Dan's still watching his clock. Look at that face of concentration. If only we could zoom in. There's another one. That's it. That's time. You can both add 1 to the pile because you caught that last one. I'll give you that. Richard, you're counting. I mean, that was. Let's count Neville's first because I don't think it's going to be as many. Go on, Neville. 5. Richard. 12. 12. A title equaling 12. I don't know. I've got no ideas for a tiebreaker, but
a lot of time spent in pubs.
Yeah. Did you grow up in a pub?
I feel like I did.
Yeah, that's good enough for me. Yeah, well done. Have you got your mobile on you to take a selfie with Wesley Moolahan?
Well,
you can.
I need to do that.
Yeah, you can do that. I get your pint involved. Neville, if you want to come, you can get in it as well.
I need to
do you want to go
that.
Around the edge? Yeah, we're doing that now.
That was my prize.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but then Neville gets to be in it as well. But you get to hold the camera. See, where's Neville going? Neville's taking the long road. Is it like Daniel Farke's style of football? There we go. Obviously don't have to be in that. I think we can all agree this is proving a wonderful addition to the PinkUn show. Dan's laughing. I assume we haven't got another sting, Dan. Oh yeah, go and play it. Oh, we're back on. Wonder, this is seamless. God, it's never been this good. Right. That was some technique, by the way. We've really some technique. Lots of practice. We've got just 3 game weeks to go in the Championship, so let's check the picture as it currently stands, shall we? Brentford's late equaliser at Fulham ensured Wolves' automatic promotion to the Premier League, as well as dealing a blow to the Cottagers' own hopes. At the other end, Barnsley failed to beat Bolton, while Burton gave themselves a thin lifeline with an excellent Derby win over Derby. And if you haven't seen Ruben Neves' goal against Birmingham, I suggest you dig it out, sit back and enjoy. So it's all about the race for second now, while the scrap to be in the top 6 come at the end of the season looks lively too. Preston are still in there and host Norwich on Saturday, of course. Managerless Ipswich remain ahead of City at the moment on goal difference. Cardiff's grudge game in hand at Derby takes place on Tuesday. Sadly, all Norwich lead at the moment is the bottom half. Their remaining home game is against Leeds on Saturday week. Sunderland are doomed given the points they've given away in recent weeks, but Burton will hope the miracle is on. Those above the Brewers are still sweating, but Hull and Reading should be fine from here for this season at least. So a London derby kicks off a crucial weekend. It's win or bust as Burton head to Sunderland, while Ipswich host Villa, and Cardiff are the late kick-off when they host Forest, which could be 90 minutes that takes them to the brink of Premier League football. Gentlemen, I've just realised I've got all the slides here, so you don't have to be completely in the dark. There you go. There's the table and the results and the fixtures and all this. Wolves, too good for the Championship this year, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think they... At Carrow Road, the sides I've seen play at Carrow Road, I think they were the best side. I mean, they were physical. They didn't play the prettiest football I've seen, but they were very effective, and we couldn't really live with them. Really, I think 2-0 was not over flattering, really.
I mean, even then, Norwich were probably quite lucky to get a point at their place. But
Michael and Ollie convinced me to go, and Yeah, we sat there because we'd just got a late winner the 2 previous games, and we thought, right, that's it. And then all of a sudden, 93rd minute, all right, Mr. Ruddy was probably a little bit late going down for that. But, you know, we battled. Again, that was another game of 2 halves. The first half wasn't so good, but we then came back at them in the second half. And, we spoke to the Wolves fans, and they were just pretty blasé. You know, you would be when you were that far ahead, wouldn't you? You know?
I think I called them champions in October, and they pretty much delivered. They're a very good side. Who's going to finish second?
Probably Cardiff.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't want it to be Cardiff, but yeah, I think
who wants Warnock's team to be, especially after last weekend. But again, it's being effective, perhaps not in the way that lots of people admire. Effective nonetheless.
Indeed. We've had the conversation in the office as to whether Neil Warnock will actually still be around for next season, because he's admitted before he doesn't really like the Premier League and doesn't really do that well in it. So it'll be quite interesting.
Does he enjoy the challenge of the Championship more than the Premier League when he knows that he's going to be down in the bottom 6? Where he
likes winning that one. He likes winning. And finally, will Norwich finish above Ipswich this season?
That's all we've got to play for. Them and Dirty Leeds. That's all for me.
Finish above both of them?
But yeah, I hope so. But
if we can't, again, going back to what I was saying about Millwall and Villa and Cardiff and other teams, really, I don't really rate that highly. If we can't finish above Ipswich, then that is a really poor show, because they are, in my opinion, a very, very poor side indeed. And I'm not just saying that because of the rivalry and so on. They are a terrible side, and the fact that we had to, we could only equalise at the end. It was wonderful. It felt like we'd won, something major, but actually that just papered over the fact that it was a bit embarrassing having to get
fair, all we were doing celebrating was keeping that unbeaten run going. That wasn't a point or...
And the radio stuff at commentary.
One of the greatest in Norwich City history.
It was...
it was wonderful. It will go down in history, that.
Brilliant.
Let's get a few more messages. Kevin Bright, dodgy 5 there, Nev. Not happy with your performance in the Flip the Bird. Very poor from an ex-Forces man, Nev, says Mark Newstead. They're all sticking the boot in, Nev.
Yeah, I knew this would happen. I was going to try and get underneath the radar with this today, and it hasn't.
They're all chirping up. Daniel Wendon, we all hate Ipswich and Leeds, or Leeds and Ipswich, but the point obviously is still the same. So there we go, Daniel. I'm sure that will be reiterated over the remaining weeks of the season. Matt Gregory, if we can find a decent centre forward, maybe on loan like Bristol City did with Tammy Abrahams, then it will make a big difference. P.S. Any of you guys had that burger on the menu behind you? Looks good. I missed that. No, don't tell us that. I'm starving.
Missed it.
People want riders, Matt. But thanks for your thoughts anyway. Much appreciated. So it is Alec Neil and Preston on Saturday. Paddy Davitt's column it's on PinkUn.com right now. Actually, tees up the game. Check it out. But it also acknowledges the great repair job he has done to his reputation at Deepdale. Surprised in any way?
I am. Yeah. I didn't think that he'd have them. Where are they in the league?
They're 3 points off the playoffs at the 8th.
Yes, they're 8th. Yeah, and I'm surprised. Will they get into the playoffs? I don't think so. But he's done a good job there.
I was kind of surprised he got that job. It was a bit higher than the job I thought he'd get. Likewise, Grayson had built a cracking foundation. I'm going to be interesting how he gets on next year.
I was surprised in a way they got the job, but then again, when you look at Lambert getting a job in a Premier League club, it all gets put into some mighty perspective. It's a merry-go-round of managers, and eventually, you get your turn somewhere. I think he's done a great job at Preston to have them 8th in the table. With still in. I agree with Neville. I don't think they'll quite do it, but the fact that they've got a chance is full credit to him.
That's all in the seasons I supported Norwich and languishing in Championship mediocrity in front of 14,000 people. All I ever wanted was to have something riding on the last game, and I didn't mean relegation. So there we go. Let's see how you guys would take it on. We've got your teams under there. They have been earmarked individually. The thing is, they're both identical, actually, because you're both basically kept the same side as Cardiff. Are you happy with this kind of lineup? Because the back three was working quite well, but clearly you guys don't want to go back to it.
For me personally, I would like to experiment. I would have tried to bring in Raggett, but we need to win to get above. So that's the reason I've gone for this. The best team, in my opinion, to get the points, to keep us above. Are we above them? No, we're not. To get us above Ipswich, that's the only reason. Otherwise, I would experiment. I would have had Raggett in there. messed around with it a little bit. But no, 3 points is the must on Saturday.
We'll obviously have to see if Harrison Reed's fit, because he did come off with an injury on Saturday. But Maurice Leitner, is he a player I would love Norwich to keep him?
I think he's a very, very good player. I think Hernandez is a very good player as well. They've both got a lot of skill.
So you're giving your thumbs up to the recruitment there?
Yeah, and I think, well, I'm giving thumbs up to some of the recruitment for sure. I mean, we've signed some excellent players. There's been some.
Mr. Hanley.
Hanley for me has been an absolute revelation.
Beast.
An absolute revelation, and that's why you mentioned him in the top three, and I agree, because he has Ipswich game. There was one moment in the Ipswich game, I can't remember. I think it was Ipswich game in the penalty box. Bit of a nervous moment. I think Closer had made an error uncharacteristically, and he just appeared out of nowhere and just muscled the opponent out of the way. He dealt with it cleanly. He doesn't get booked all the time. He's not a yellow card fanatic like Tetty. He actually manages to have a bit more guile about him than a lot of our players, and I think he's been a rock at the back there. He's just done nothing wrong, and then the Ipswich game, he comes up and scores a goal.
Love it. I love it. And what a goal! What a goal!
Brilliant.
That assist.
Brilliant for us.
Brilliant. Okay, so key man for the rest of the season and a prediction for Saturday. Nev?
Key man for the rest of the season? Probably. Do you know what? Vrancic. Now that was probably gonna, but I think he's just getting better and better, and he's growing into the team. And I was one of his fiercest critics, and I just couldn't see. But he's getting better and better, and I think the more play that goes through him, the better. And the score, because I'm not going, by the way. No, controversial. It's a long way. It's 500 miles round trip. So we're going to Northampton against Argyle.
What?
Yep. It's a new ground.
Who's going to see more goals, me or you?
I think we will. At Northampton, yeah, definitely.
In that conversation. Prediction?
I think 2-1 to Norwich.
Richard?
1-1.
1-1. Yeah, that would probably cause Preston more issues than Norwich.
And I think, and that's why I would be quite happy with that.
And I was just off football. You've written a few books. You're a big music man, and I want to talk about this because you're gonna. Are we allowed to talk about it? Writing a book?
Yes.
With Shane McGowan. That's cool.
It is cool. I write about music. Although I wrote a column about Norwich City for years, obviously at the Eastern Daily Press. My really big interest is music, and I've written books before about Ian Dury and then more recently about Stiff Records. And I'm doing a sort of authorised book with Shane McGowan, and I've been a Pogues fan for many, many years. I saw them in the 80s, back in the day. And I've met him before and interviewed him before, so I'm really, really looking forward to that. Yeah,
can't wait. That's a couple of years worth of work, isn't it?
It's about a year and a half. It's going to take me to do it, and obviously that involves, interviewing a huge number of people. So massive amount of work ahead, but we'll be good.
Well, good luck
with it.
In
the pub.
Lucky boy. Well, get your Flip the Bird out.
Yeah.
Not that Flip the Bird. The other one. You enjoy yourself. Good luck with it. Can't wait to read it. We are done for tonight, gentlemen. Thank you so much. Remember, you can catch this show and all our superb Norwich City content on the PinkUn Facebook page and YouTube channel, but of course, first and foremost at PinkUn.com. A big thank you to all the crew, which is basically Dan on his own tonight. To Richard and Neville for joining us. Top work, gents. To everyone here at the Woolpack, and of course to you for watching and for getting involved. We really, really do appreciate it. I'll be at Deepdale along with Paddy and Dave on Saturday, so make sure you keep tabs on PinkUn.com for all the build-up, team news, live coverage, reaction and analysis. And if you see us around, obviously make sure you say hello too. The PinkUn Show returns next Wednesday, hopefully again here at the Woolpack on Golden Ball Street in the centre of Norwich. We will be live from the usual time of 7 p.m, and as always, if you're nearby, pop into the pub, grab a pint and join us for the show. Until then, here's to Norwich City, cruising at P&E to keep us all sailing in the right direction before the summer arrives. Thankfully, Richard's a better writer than me. Good night.